Hello and welcome to the Buckets and Tea NBA show. I'm your host, Cathryn Naiker. Thanks so much for tuning in to this week's episode. Joining me today, you know him, you love him, good old buddy pal of mine. It's Freddie Rivas. Bow, 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 bow. Sound effects, blah, 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 applause. How you doing?
I'm doing great. I appreciate the intro. I appreciate the sound effects, the applause, both the use buddy and pal.
You're a buddy pal, buddy and
Yeah,
pal.
good.
Mm-hmm.
It's a good way to start a pod. I feel welcome. Thanks for having me.
Oh, thank you. We haven't talked about the NBA together in some time since you had your baby.
Yeah, that's right. I know. It's just been all W, which is fine, which is great. But our original core of our friendship is comedy and NBA and Raptors. So
Yeah.
we're back.
We launched our WNBA pod, the Pickup WNBA podcast on YouTube last night. We have a total of 6 views.
Huge.
But you gotta start somewhere, right? So if you're interested in any WNBA content this summer, check out the Pickup WNBA podcast. We're doing that weekly together. We just put it out on YouTube literally last night. And more content there. The All-Star game will be this weekend. Definitely check that out. We'll be recapping all of that fun. And yeah, good times.
Good times for the W. Summer times for the NBA, Olympic times coming up. So yeah, it's a good summer of basketball.
Yeah. I mean, let's get into some NBA stuff here. I'm not going to cover Summer League with sort of in-depth details. I mean, Samson and other people on Raptors Republic do a really excellent job of that. So please check out their content. We don't want to overlap content here. We're here to talk about the goss. We're here to talk about all the juicy storylines of the NBA. That's what this podcast is for. And to have fun with it as informed fans of the game. So would that be
I like
right?
it. Yeah.
So
there's a line we're riding. You're riding buckets and tea. It's in the name.
It's in the name. And that is intentional. So with that, Freddie, I want to get your take on this whole Bronny James situation, right? He's like the 50-something pick in the second round of the draft. I don't know why people would have expectations of him, but they do. And he's been getting a lot of, back and forth about essentially being a nepo-baby. We had Jaylen Brown with his girlfriend Kaiser, last name I always mispronounce. Absolutely stunning. Anyway, they're sitting courtside and we can see him saying, like, I don't think he's going to be a pro and this, that, and the other. Do you think the world is too hard on Bronny James? Do you think he can be a pro? Do you think he should push harder? Do you think Jaylen Brown's just a hater? Where are you at with the latest NBA nepo baby? Since there are many.
There are many for sure. In all ranks too, in management and coaching and ownership, but players, of course. So Jaylen Brown, so we'll start there, is just, I think he got caught on camera calling it as he sees it. Right? Like it's not.
Yeah, I mean, that's fair. Like it was a private conversation and it was just easy to lip read. Like it wasn't like he tried to say it publicly. That's very true.
Yeah, I don't think he went out of his way, and he was just like talking to, his girlfriend, and Angel Reese was with them too. Like he was just talking to basketball people, and he was talking about basketball things. And I think,
did you see Kaiser and Angel Reese were like holding hands as they like walk to their seat, and it's like, wow, Jaylen Brown's really the third wheel. I enjoyed that, but anyway,
I enjoyed that too. He was happy to be there,
Yeah.
Listen, if I'm Jaylen Brown, I'm happy to be with those two as well. straight up. But yeah, I mean, so I think there's a couple things going on here. One, just sort of starting with the obvious stuff. Jaylen is correct. He doesn't really look like an NBA player, and also he is like is it nepo-baby,
Yeah,
nepotism.
nepotism.
I always want to say nepo, and I'm like, there's not two e's. I don't know what's going on in my brain. He is
I've
right.
done that with other words in my life.
Yeah, it's just a weird thing. But he undeniably is exactly that, right? So were he another player, does he get this opportunity? I think it's pretty fair to say absolutely not. He doesn't have like any particular major upside. He doesn't, he's the type of player who honestly would be like, he redshirted his first year of college. So he'd be hopefully back for his sophomore year and trying to prove himself. Like, this is like a 4-year, he's looking like a 4-year college player who would maybe play international basketball. But yeah, so he is a nepo baby. Is he actually good? Will he be good? I think that to me is a really interesting question, because so much of your success in the NBA is tied to A, your work ethic, B, like who you have around you, your situation. I don't know if you would. This is a little bit of a tangent, but I don't know if you would have seen. But about a week or two ago, Rondé Hollis Jefferson, former Raptor, had a really kind of emotional, not breakdown, but like an emotional plea on Instagram. It was very sad. And, he talked about how he's 30, how he's been a winner at every level. He's an incredible basketball player, and he just cannot find his way back into the NBA. No team will take a chance on him. He even talked about his flaws and his shooting and how he's improved that. And, this is like a guy who's been a part of two of the biggest comebacks in NBA history. Raptors fans know the Dallas comeback, right? Which was mostly like the Lowry show. But Rondé was a big part of that. And, he's part of a big Brooklyn Nets comeback as well. And yeah, like the NBA is just so competitive, and you need people who are in your corner. And LeBron and his camp are so able to advocate for Bronny that it is going to give him the chance. He's going to have so many more opportunities to succeed than any player, that we really know. Like, he's going to make like the, like Seth Curry, right? Austin Rivers. These guys had like so many, like such an abundance of opportunity to fail and succeed and fail and then still be around. Bronny's going to have that and some, but yeah, not a great start. Like, he doesn't really look.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if he has. I mean, that's an interesting comparison. I don't know if he has the same talent as those guys, because I believe Austin Rivers was like a top 10 or top 15 pick coming out of college. Like, he was,
I forget where he was, but
he was definitely a first rounder, if I remember that correctly. Like, those guys weren't like deep in the bottom of the draft. But I didn't know that about Rondé. That's super interesting to hear. I mean, and that is sad for sure. And I guess, the conversation around this is about the fact that, he is taking up a roster spot from someone that could be potentially more deserving. I mean, I do personally think it's funny that no one has complained about this with Thanasis being on the Bucks, because it's the exact same situation. But for some reason,
he's gotten some bad press. People have ripped on him for sure.
Yeah, but not to this degree.
No.
He has not had a spotlight on him to this degree. I think the one thing that Bronny James is going to do that, a player like a Rondé, who arguably does deserve it, an NBA roster spot somewhere, is he is going to sell tickets, right? He is going to sell tickets, not just in LA, but across the league. And people are going to want to see this kid for themselves. And I think, for a franchise like the Lakers, where like, they want to be championship aspiring, but they're not currently at that level. And they didn't do enough moves this offseason to get closer to that level. What are people going to spend all this money? Because those tickets aren't cheap. What are they going to spend that money on? It's going to be to see Bronny, and it's going to be to see them together, and they're going to make a show out of that. And that's how celebrities are going to continue to go to games and try to clout chase and blah, blah, blah. So, I mean, that's what I think this is kind of about, beyond just the, he's LeBron's son and this is LeBron's wish and all of that. So I think that's the other incentive. You're never going to make more money off of a second round pick who doesn't turn into a star.
Yeah, I mean, it ultimately is a money making league and very capitalist driven. So I think you're right.
Were you Googling Austin Rivers draft spot? Where was he?
You nailed it. 10.
He was okay, 10, yeah. 10 so overall. He was, yeah.
I'm trying.
You also had like a fun thinking face. You were like,
oh, did I? Well, I think
like curled lip, like keen, like eyes.
Oh, good. Anyway. I was trying to find where Seth Curry was drafted. Mm-hmm. He might have been undrafted. I mean, it's not pulling up on his Basketball Reference, but
good for him. I mean, that's he's had a pretty solid career.
And by the way, so is Austin Rivers.
Yeah, but even like his transition into media is also, it's also part of the Nepo sitch. But that's fine. You know what? I mean, it does come down to what you do with it, right? Of course. That's what it is. Freddie, I don't know if you saw, like 2 weeks ago, I had Asfandier on this podcast, and he told me that his one of his aunties helped him get a job at Value Village once. And so now he's also a nepo-baby. And I feel like you should know that.
Yep. Shout out to Ez. Had his big sideline porter sideline.
Yeah, killing it. Yeah,
that was awesome. Yeah, I mean, listen, this is what the world is and always has been. Yeah. Like if you're Scottish, the Mick, like in Connor McDavid, that Mick means son of, right? So it's like
I didn't know that.
Yeah, people are named after, historically, like what their like father's job is or whatever. So it's like, Freddie Blacksmith or Freddie McBlacksmith or whatever. And that's kind of, people give, this is what Hollywood is like. The world is parents. And as a new dad, I'm like, I'm going to give my son everything I can. So the world is giving your kids what like you couldn't have and trying to give them everything. I think just sort of like circling back to like the LeBron part of this, I do think you touched on this a little bit. I do think some of the hate is LeBron hate. So this is another reason for people who hate LeBron, for people who are sort of like have picked this hill to die on, that they're going to hate LeBron. And they're going to be like, sort of like, their take on LeBron's career is that like they're a hater, or like they're those people who make those like horrible like la jokes. You know what I mean? Like, I'm tired of LeBron, or la whiny. Like,
I didn't know people did that.
It's horrible. They make these like,
pretty sad.
Yeah, it's bad. They make these like stock, I guess, borderline racist, shitty, weird jokes.
Oh boy.
But yeah. Anyways, all that to say, people hate LeBron. A lot of people hate LeBron, and they are going to extend that hate to Bronny. And I don't feel sorry for Bronny, but I think it's going to be like, it's going to be a lot of hate, and yeah, he's going to make a lot of money. So whatever.
I saw a little clip of Bronny at a post-game interview. They won. I believe he had a game-winning shot in Summer League. And, he had the post-game interview, and I was like, oh, I wonder what Bronny sounds like. Mm-hmm. And he sounds like LeBron. Like, he sounds almost identical to LeBron, but with the slightest lisp.
Oh, that's so cute.
I feel
Oh,
like that is like almost symbolic of his whole life to date. That's like
yeah,
kind of mean to say, but it's like, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know. Anyway, cancel me. It's fine. I
you're
just
canceled. You're
just
done. You're done.
I had to note it. I had to note it. Oh my god. Um all right. What else is one last thing I wanted to say about it and then we'll move on is that I do feel that like, LeBron I feel like a lot of this is actually about LeBron living out his dreams.
Mm-hmm.
Not to say that it isn't Bronny's dream to be in the NBA. I'm sure he's worked very hard for this, but like LeBron has made it known for years
For sure.
that he wants to play with his kids. So I mean that's like a whole like I'm so fascinated by like the psychology of that. I've never been in a situation that's like anything remotely like that. I maybe like years from now when like his kids are older, they'll talk about what that was like or whatever. Like that's something I'd be so fascinated by because of not like my parents or whatever they're my mom's around, but like they didn't have like specific dreams for me that I had to like live up to. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's very dynastic, and
Mm.
I think LeBron, it's just an ultimate flex. Like I'm sure in his mind, he's got some like Ken Griffey Jr. thing going on. Even though Ken Griffey Jr. was like a total phenom,
Yes.
but like yeah, like he's got some of this stuff where it's an ultimate flex. And I think the hater side of LeBron, watchers
What was Ken
would
Griffey
be
like?
mad
Was that
about it.
like a Dell Curry, Steph Curry situation?
No, they played together on the same team. So Ken
Oh.
Griffey and Ken Griffey Jr. They actually have like for anyone if you ever I'm a big sort of like YouTube sports moment guy. But you can do Ken Griffey and Ken Griffey Jr. back to back home runs. So there's a
Whoa.
game where father and son hit back to back home runs. There's also a bunch of fun stuff where like Ken Griffey Jr. stole a ball, like he caught a ball, uh, like that was supposed to be caught by Ken Griffey in the outfield. Like he ran by and like caught it.
Whoa.
Yeah, so I think for all the people who are upset by this, there's going to be a lot of like fun moments. There's going to be a lot of fun
Mm.
bench moments. There's going to be, it's just a really cool, completely rare dynamic. Yeah, I was going to say like the haters are going to be sort of like, whatever. This is like fuck LeBron and his son, I guess. But the people who just like seeing weird stuff or like who are LeBron fans, and like I'm definitely one of those people. I'm gonna appreciate like the novel aspect of this.
Mhm.
No, do I think there's gonna be like if you have Bronny playing meaningful minutes, like is that gonna go well? I I can't see it yet, anyways. But I do think that just the hoopla and the atmosphere and how rare this is, like how long you have to play
Mm.
to be able to do this is crazy. So
Yeah, well, it's true. I mean, we don't know if this will become a trend or if we'll ever see it again.
well, if it's a trend, like whoever, let's say like Luca or whatever, like you got to
Mm.
play 20 years. So if it's a trend, you have to like have a kid pretty early and then never get injured and play until you're 40. So I don't know. That's a hard trend. It would be a cool trend though.
This is true. I hope.
Yeah.
I just because I think it'd be fun.
Yeah, it'd be great.
All right, let's move on. Let's talk about the fact that Russell Westbrook has joined the Denver Nuggets. I didn't even look up how much money or any of those details. I was just like, okay, wait, this is actually happening. He got traded to the Jazz, where the Jazz promptly bought him out, and then the Nuggets have signed him. I don't understand this move. It is his 5th team in 6 seasons,
Wow.
which is a lot for a player of his stature, or of what was his stature, right? I
Mm-hmm.
mean, it's
MVP.
yeah, I mean, I just feel like every single team has struggled to figure out how to fit him into their rotation, into their schemes, into all of those things. The Clippers were the only team that seemed to figure it out. And then I guess like things just didn't work out for them playoff wise. I don't know what they're doing now that Paul George is gone and all that. Like I don't know what direction they're taking or anything like that. I really haven't heard people from that side of things talk about it much yet. But I just feel like I look at the Nuggets and I'm just like, this team won a championship, right? Last year they got to the second round. I mean, I feel like we're gonna look back at this Nuggets team and be like, they should have just paid people. You know what I mean? Like they should have just paid people, right? Like they let Bruce Brown walk and he was like a key part of their
Mm-hmm.
championship run. Now they've let uh Contavious Caldwell Pope, sorry, I
Yep.
always struggle with his name, uh walk also. And it's like, it's just this classic thing where it's like you don't pay your depth and you don't win. And I just don't know what they're going to try and run with Westbrook. I would assume he's going to come off the bench. You know what I mean? Because
Oh,
it's like,
he's certainly going to come off the bench.
yeah, I mean, which maybe that's gonna be just fine. I mean, it would be incredible if it did work. It would be quite the redemption for Westbrook if it did really, really work out. But it's just on paper really hard to sort out, I would guess. I guess I'd say.
Yeah, I mean, I think you sort of hit all the big things. Like they haven't been able to keep some of their core guys. They were still a really good team last year. I think that loss to Minnesota, right? The playoffs. They lost to Minnesota. Am I blanking out here?
Yeah, and then they
Yeah.
lost to Dallas. Yeah.
Yeah, they lost in game 7. Yeah, I think Minnesota caught him by surprise. They probably underestimated him. And I think they have lost some depth over the years, but not like crucial depth, right? They're the core of their team, Gordon, Porter, Murray, Jokic is all very much intact. But yeah, they have lost some guys. And I think like I'm not really sure if it like you're saying, I'm not really sure if it's like they haven't been paying the right guys. I think Raptors fans can relate in this like last era where it's like those guys on the margins, they're hard to it's hard to get the perfect people who fit. And credit to a team like Boston, right? Like they won the
Hmm.
championship this year, and like all those guys, like all the guys they got on the margins. Obviously White became kind of like a low key star, but like Pritchard and like just like up and down that roster is a bunch of like really really uh, incredible players that fit well. And over to like the Russell Westbrook thing, I think it's kind of like a let's just see if we can get some juice out of this guy. I feel like if you're Denver as well, you've seen Jokic work magic with anyone that's like willing to play smart basketball. And I mean, yeah, I think Russell Westbrook had a good season with the Clippers, like for what he can do. He's just at that point in his career, and I think the Clippers are at a point as well where they're kind of throwing. I mean, I think they don't know what to do after Paul George left because that era has largely been a disaster. The Kawhi PG era has just been a nightmare. Obviously they had some good regular seasons, but like just a playoff disaster. And yeah, so Russell Westbrook just like searching for something. And I don't think it's like the worst play for the Nuggets. I think he could he could have some moments. He could be a good roster guy. I feel like people like playing on his team.
Yeah, I mean, I think like, yeah, the impression that I get with Westbrook is that players do like playing with him, but he's just not necessarily nice when it comes to like the media and stuff like that.
Yes.
But, regardless of all that, I just feel like Westbrook is a really ball dominant player. You know what I mean? Like he really
Mhm.
needs the ball in his hands a lot. And I just don't know if that style makes sense for Denver.
Yeah, I don't think it makes sense for anybody because he's not
Also that.
he's
Yeah.
he's not the Russell Westbrook that he was. But yeah,
Mhm.
I think, just sort of to my other point about him with the Clippers, I think he did kind of defer more than we've seen and defer, I would say, like enough. And yeah, I'm just looking at the roster here for the Nuggets, and it's not as if they have like a ton going on at guard, right? So they got Murray, Christian Brown, Jalen Pickett, Trey Alexander, two way.
But
So
isn't that another reason why you pay KCP?
yeah, I don't really know why they didn't pay him, especially because he's like a valuable shooter for them. Like, if we played that game I like to play sometimes where you try and guess people on the Nuggets roster. I think I'd be shocked if people could guess more than 5 players on this Nuggets roster.
Mhm.
It's
Mhm.
it's a lot of like young guys, new guys, unproven guys.
Yeah, I mean, and that kind of, I think that's a good segue into my next topic, which is this whole like new CBA,
Mm-hmm.
the aprons, which I've talked about. I'm like, why are they called aprons? Like, I still don't understand why they're called aprons. I feel like they should be called tiers or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Not that it's a huge deal, but whatever. We're already seeing it dramatically affect the way teams approach team building, right? So like we saw, I mean, the whole Clay Thompson thing, it seemed like he was going to leave, but that ended up being a 6-team sign and trade scenario with various picks and cash considerations. We've seen Jalen Brunson now take significantly less money than what he could have taken by like a lot. Um, in order for the Knicks to have some, wiggle room, for lack of a better term, with their team building. He's trying to show that they can win a championship. Another nepo baby, by the way. Part of me is like, of course you can take less money. You were, whatever. I'm fine. I'm
Brunson,
fine. Brunson,
yeah, for sure he's a nepo baby,
right? It's
100%.
like
Yeah,
it's like, oh, but you were born rich and blah blah blah. Anyway,
yes.
who cares?
By the way,
Who cares?
we said
Who
Seth
cares?
Curry, also Steph Curry, nepo baby.
We're just gonna name all of them. Oh
There's
my
a
god.
lot. There's a
We'll
lot.
be here all day.
Like
Clay
Clay Thompson.
Thompson.
Yep.
Yeah, anyway. Oh god. And Gary Trent Jr., who we'll talk about later. But yeah, sorry, I'm off track here. I just want to know, Freddie, your general thoughts of like, this whole CBA, the aprons, etc.,
Mhm.
beyond just the cash considerations, like the luxury tax. It's now like, okay, we're also going to limit your flexibility in the trade market and things like that. How do you feel this is affecting the league? And do you think it will create more parity? Do you think it will be good for the NBA? Or do you think it won't be so good? Where are you at?
Well, yeah. So first, let me start. Oxford Dictionary. Apron, a protective or decorative garment worn over the front of one's clothes and tied at the back. Okay. Second, second definition, a small area adjacent to another larger area or structure. Not seeing how that applies to basketball, but then if you go to the basketball definition, um, they define it as an intense penalty zone for offending teams. So I'm not really seeing why the choice of the word apron, but I just, when you brought that up, I was like, I got to figure this out. In
So it
short,
makes even less sense
makes even
now.
less sense. Uh,
The English language is just crazy.
it's weird, people make choices here. Yeah, it's working, right? I think the Warriors are the main example right now of a team that is making kind of like financial choices that seem really like you're talking about just like paying a guy. Really, you're not going to pay Klay Thompson. You're not going to just like keep that guy there. He's like, how many years until he retires? Like,
yeah, I mean, considering
wild
they paid Jordan Poole, they paid Andrew Wiggins,
yeah,
like,
right. Why?
yeah,
And I think
and
that's why.
Draymond, of course, yeah.
So this sort of like fiscal responsibility, it's making teams do stuff that they haven't been doing. So I think that's working. As far as the parody, I feel like that's kind of coming from a different place. I think it's there's a lot going on there. Like I've been obsessed with parody ever since the Raptors won the championship because it sort of like broke the stronghold of what was the Warriors 5 appearances in a row, and then obviously like LeBron was like 9 appearances in a row or whatever. But I think it's it's style of play. It's a super team kind of like failing over and over. I mean, I guess one might consider the Celtics team a super team, so maybe that's not true anymore. But it's not a bunch of people like joining up and winning a championship and like just, hey, who cares? We'll spend the money. It's become too punitive to do that. And I talked about the Clippers, but obviously the Suns was a fairly big failure, and the Brooklyn Nets pretty big failure. So yeah, it's the league's I think it's in a really healthy competitive place. I think as far as not average teams, but like other markets, smaller markets, medium markets, which the NBA is filled to the brim with, right? There's really not that many. I like to call them glamour markets, and there's basically 6 of those markets, and then the rest of the league is just medium or small markets for the most part, and it's good for them. So if you're a financially prudent team, if you are responsible, if you are using all the different kind of like draft assets and clever trades you can think of, it's going to put you in a position to win. And yeah, ultimately this is getting into the weeds a little bit, but the NBA, second apron thing, they're more or less flirting with a hard cap, like which is what the NHL has, which is like
Right.
the NHL is obviously like a hard cap, like you cannot spend more than this, allotted amount. But the second apron is just so punitive that it's effectively turning, NBA teams into a hard cap. So
Right.
I mean, and
That's a good
again,
way to put it. I haven't heard other people phrase it that way yet.
well, if you're the Warriors, right, you're the second highest valued franchise in the world. So it's number 1 Dallas Cowboys, number 2 Golden State Warriors, number 3 New York Knicks. So like those, if the Warriors aren't going to just spend money to spend money, then that's a sign that teams are not wanting to go all in the way that they would have previously.
Right. No, I think Freddie, you made a lot of great points there, and I agree with a lot of what you said. I feel like this era of parody, which, like you said, this first apron, second apron situation sort of thrusts the league into that even more so for a longer period of time. I feel like it's good for us diehards who really know the league. And we know these teams, and, we can name at least a handful of players on every team and stuff like that. I think it's harder for the casuals to get invested when they don't know what's going on, right? It's like jumping into a TV show midway and you're like, okay, wait, what's happening? You know what I mean? And I feel like that is by design. And I don't know if that's going to be good or bad for the league long term. I don't believe this league is struggling with money in the slightest. But even like something like the new media deal, right, which has been in the news a lot, still not completely finalized. There's so many networks and streaming services involved in this deal, right? Like it's not just, oh, now all the games are going to be on NBC. It's like NBC, ESPN, Amazon Prime, and maybe TNT gets into the mix in addition as well. And
Yeah,
it's like,
it's not looking good for TNT, by the way.
no, it isn't. But it's like we're talking 3 to 4 networks and or streaming services to tune into nationally televised games. And it's like you're not making it easy for people to find you. And I feel like for years the league was trying to figure out how do we get more casuals invested in the league. And I feel like they've turned it into such a soap opera, which obviously I enjoy, that it's like, how do you jump in midway? You know what I mean? It's not a TV show in that you can go back to season 1 and binge it, right? So it's like, that's what I feel like it's kind of turning into. And I don't know if that's going to be good or not. It's good for me, but I don't know if it's good in a larger sense.
Yeah, so many good points. I think I fully agree. Like I would sort of say it's like a course correction where they've really courted casuals for such a long time.
Right. Yeah.
And they're banking on the strength of fandom being able to buoy itself. Like I'm almost a broken record with a couple points, but like one of the points is that besides the WNBA, which we cover, which has less than 200 players, the NBA is the most elite league of all the professional leagues. Has 550 players, and the NHL is over 1,000, NFL is like 1,600, and the MLB I think is just under 1,000. So when you factor in the popularity of basketball and its growth globally, it is just an incredibly elite league. Like, with this TV deal, they're finally kind of like acknowledging like how imminent and overdue expansion is, right? So like,
right,
that's going to happen as well. Like the NHL is expanding, right? And that's just like the NHL doesn't even make, like Chris Boucher makes more than any NHL player. You know what I mean?
right,
So it's
right.
like bench money in the NBA is like beyond superstar money in the NHL. And yeah, I think that this is them banking on, people will find us and they know how to find us. And I mean, this is also a bigger thing too, because I feel like the NBA is very overdue. Like they've been sort of since Michael Jordan. And, I've talked about this a lot with Raptors Republic, Aiden Moss, but like, since Michael Jordan, since even before Michael Jordan a little bit, but really since Michael Jordan, the NBA is really they spend so much of their marketing energy pumping up the top 5 or 10 players. And I think they're finally looking past that and they're saying this is international. Like there's so many stars and superstars that we're able to market this more of, market basketball for what it is. It's like a team game, of course. And of course you're going to have the casuals who are like, hey, I'm in city X and I'm furious that Jokic isn't playing. Or I'm, in city Y and I'm furious that Steph Curry isn't playing. But it's like, ultimately you're paying for, a basketball product. And if you are a soccer fan, Messi doesn't play every game. You know what I mean? That's not how that works. Ronaldo doesn't play every game. The superstars do not play every game. And that's just kind of how that works. Like, baseball's been like that forever. Like the superstars just, like pitchers especially, they rest, right? Like they play once a week. So I think the NBA is heading in a direction where it's less about we need this whole league to be about Wembanyama, or we need this whole league to be about Doncic. And of course, like they don't want to lose that, and they don't want to lose the drama, right? And the need for casuals to like know what's going on with those guys. But I think they also want people to care about the players who are, whatever, like not necessarily bench guys, but like low end starters, like the Quickleys and the Grady Dicks of the world,
Well, I guess like I think too what you're saying in a larger sense is that you feel like the face of the league conversation is kind of dead. which I don't think is true, but
Yeah, I don't
I
think
feel
it's
like that's
dead.
where
I
this
think
is leaning
it's
towards what you're saying.
yeah, I don't think it's dead. I just think that the NBA needs to, and I think they're trying to graduate from that being their only marketing tactic, especially as LeBron and KD and Steph exit the league.
That's true because they're in their mid to later 30s, almost 40 in LeBron's case, and they're still the most popular players in the league.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe that's why. Yeah, great points. All right, let's move on to our Raptors Homer moment. And this week we kind of saw this coming. We lost another one. Shout out Gary Trent Jr. Now with the Milwaukee Bucks. Freddie, want to know your thoughts on this move, and where do you think the team is at overall right now? Like, how do you feel about where the team is at overall?
Yeah, thoughts on the move. I always like Gary. Incredible shooter and didn't do too much other stuff, but it's a shooters league right now.
There's
And
the way you said other stuff was just really funny to me
yeah,
because you just had a lot of sass in your head movements. You're like,
he's not a little uh or big things king or little things king type guy. But shout out to Gary Sr. wearing those fur coats.
uh-huh.
Alvin Williams always ripping on Gary's dad, which was fun to me. But yeah, I think for a lot of Raptors fans, he's tied to the Norm trade, and now that sort of like that era
Absolutely.
is done. I think it feels like a loss, and it is. Right? There's no positive spin. Norm is a better Raptor. I think had Gary turned into something else, had we kept him and traded him and whatever, then the sort of like the spinning asset keeps going, and then it's a bit murkier. But
Mhm.
he's gone, and he was less productive than Norm, and him and Norm were on similarly or almost identical size contracts. And we traded Norm in the first place because we thought he was going to leave. We thought he was going to walk. And so we traded him for Gary. And
If I recall, I believe there was a narrative of not wanting to pay Norm. Like, we would have to pay Norm a certain amount of money, and the team didn't want to do that. And
yeah,
that was also part of it.
yeah, because he was sort of like the market was saying that he was going to get like upwards of at that time like $24 million, and he
Mhm.
signed for 18, and which is what we signed Gary for. So
Right.
I think Masai and Co. did not evaluate the market properly there, and Norm signed for less than we thought.
Right.
So, and I think because Kyle was going to be a free agent, and we didn't trade him. Obviously we traded him a sign and trade for Precious and Goran Dragic, but he didn't. I think they didn't want to do that dance where they like just lose Norm for nothing, like a Fred VanVleet style thing. Anyhow, think about this team now. I think we could have used Gary. He's a really good shooter, but we've gone from being this like power forward, small forward glut of like big guys who are like rangy to looking a hell of a lot more modern. So yeah, we have a
You thought Vision 6'9" wasn't modern?
that's an interesting question because I think that it was like
Because I thought the whole point of that was to be forward thinking and progressive.
I think it was. I really think it was. Like, I still sort of like believe in the idea of Vision 6'9". I think the one of the major flaws is that you need all those 6'9" guys to have skill.
Wow.
And no, I mean, I like it's funny, like I sound so slanderous, but I believe that I believe I was sort of sold on the idea that they were gonna teach these guys the important skills, that they were going to like, Precious was going to learn how to shoot and whatever, like they were going to be able to like sort of all do everything. And I think that slowly but surely, this Raptors team has become a lot more conventional, right? We have a very traditional center. our backcourt is like 2 shooters, with if Grady starts, right? With Grady and Quickly. And yeah, like, with Mitchell, sort of like a rangy, like Pat Bev style guy off the bench. He's not offensive player, but like he's very traditional in that, like, being able to guard other guards type guy. And with our new guy, Jacoby Walter, like he's kind of like a norm, right? So I think they didn't really see a place, they didn't want to spend that much on Norm ultimately. And so, yeah, he's out. It's not, to me, it's not the biggest loss in the world. And like, yeah, going forward with where we're at, like, I think Vegas just put us at 31.5 wins. Which just, this is, I mean, I'm going to obviously, like so many people, like scrutinize and like pour over this in the summer and like probably talk myself and all sorts of shit, but it seems fair. Like, just like
that's a real September talking point.
It really is. Yeah. But it's, 31 wins seems fair. I mean, could I see this team winning a lot less than 31 games? Definitely. They've proven literally nothing on the court.
Right.
So, I believe in Scotty IQ. Like, I believe in it. Is it going to be good right away? I would bet on no. But yeah, I mean, where, I think it's going to be a fun season though, because I don't think there's all this shit hanging over the Raptors team. There's zero expectations.
I know.
And if your expectation is to lose and like get the crap beat out of you on a regular basis, then you'll be all right, because that's what's going to happen to this team. But you know what I mean? I also think that we have good players and we have good young guys. And like, I think there's going to be, I think, it's going to be fun for Darko. Like, we're going to have like I think this team's going to have like an aura, there's going to be a vibe with this team. It's going to be fun. Yeah. That, it's going to be a really good year. And who knows, maybe they surprise and maybe they're like really fun. And there's like a bunch of guys pop and IQ's amazing and whatever. We're like a play-in team or something.
Well, I mean, you've made a lot of points there, and I don't think losing Gary is a big loss. There was one year where he did start to improve defensively, and he was getting a few steals a game and stuff, which was really great. And then I feel like that kind of declined. And I think I talked about this last week on the pod, that it was just sort of, it's always odd to ask for a pay raise when you struggle in a contract season.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? So I feel like I'm not surprised that they chose to move on. I actually like the fit in Milwaukee for him.
Oh,
you know what I mean?
Great in Milwaukee.
I think this is like a really good situation for him. I think he'll be able to come off the bench and just get a few buckets. And
it's not a good money situation for him.
No, but it is what it is. Like, I think, again, he'll be fine. But the other things I wanted to touch on. So you and I have had this conversation before about Vision 6-9. Mm-hmm. I was never really a big fan of it. I like that you're like, well, I like it in theory, but they need to be able to be like, to have a certain level of talent. I just feel like there are certain players of that height and stature that are very special. And I feel like we went through this era where we thought like, oh, anyone can become that. And I just don't think that's true. You know what I mean? Like you look at a player like Draymond Green and you're like, what if we had like, 3 Draymond Greens on our team without the attitude issues? But then it's like, no, he's a special player. You can't just like clone that, and sometimes I felt like with the Vision 6-9 stuff, it's like, okay, like, sure, Pascal can play center, but is that Pascal at his best? No, but we forced him into this position because that's all we have. And I didn't like that approach towards team building. And I think a lot of moving on from that also comes from moving on to a new coach, right? Because having a new coach means having a new vision for the team.
Yeah.
And so I think that's why with Darko now, we've gone more back into a traditional style of team building with like a traditional center, traditional guards, flexible small forward types. And yeah, I am looking forward to this season, not with an expectation of winning games, but curious to see, how we're going to evolve. And particularly with Emmanuel quickly, and like, is he and RJ Barrett going to become, this elevated, funky, cute Eastern Conference, big three, um, that we hope they'll become, because the team has really banked on these guys, and nobody, not that I care about what, the US media thinks all the time, but there's no one in the US media NBA sphere that understands what the Raptors are doing and or really believes in it. Now that could be an incredible sign. That could be like amazing that they don't see this coming, because they didn't see Scotty Barnes being a thing, and so many things they don't see. But it's going to be very interesting and a very telling season, I think.
Yeah, I think, like I agree with all your points, and like with the Division 6-9 stuff. I think the Pascal era will be, I'm Pascal stan forever, but like I think that era will be defined as like Masai and co. They never believed in Pascal enough to surround him with like they never got him a Quickly, a Grady.
You mean they never believed in him as a number one guy, is what you're trying to say,
or
not
even
believe in him in general, or you're saying in general they didn't believe in him? Because I don't think that's
sorry. I guess as a number
51 minutes into the pod. Sorry.
No, I guess as the number one guy, I just mean sort of like they never gave that team, the Pascal OG team, any structure at all. They were just like, we're gonna give you Precious, and we're gonna give you, Kem Birch, and we're gonna give you whatever, like Aaron Baines, and like we're just gonna try and give you as many other big guys as we possibly can, and we're not gonna give you any traditional guards or shooters or like RJ Barrett, right? And like a team that looks like a team. But instead they use those guys. They sort of like got that. They use Vision 6-9 to trade for a more traditional team, right? So they ended up trading Precious, trading Pascal for a bunch of picks and assets that aren't even fully realized yet, and OG for players, and they're using those guys in that era for to push this era forward, and obviously it remains to be seen, but yeah. Wait, there's another thing you said I want to jump on, but I went back to Vision 6-9.
That's fine. That's fine. We this episode we both have gone on longer tangents.
Good.
But
we're tangent heavy people.
It's true. With that, Freddie, let's move on to this week's Hottie highlight of the week. This is a bit of a, Raptors Summer League-ish edition. We had a video with Grady Dick and company. I can't name all those guys. Our draft picks are there, Kobe Walter, But anyway, they're counting. I assume this is a TikTok trend that I just they're just counting, and they're looking, like they're being hard or something. Like they're just like, yeah, look at me, I can count. And I don't personally understand it. I've never claimed to be cool. But they seem like they're having fun. Or is it D'Angelo Russell saying he's going to be in Toronto, and Scotty Barnes messaging him and being like, let me know when you're here, wanting to hang out with him in Toronto, and that he's in Toronto in his off season?
I gotta go. I just love dancing. So I'm going.
Can you call that dancing though?
No, I can't. But I can call it's a dancing type energy.
Okay.
So it's a bunch of kids having fun, and I think this team desperately needs that.
Uh-huh.
You know, the best version of this Raptors team is that we're like anything like that uh um Memphis team with Dylan Brooks, where they danced
Mhm.
out of the tunnel. Like
Mhm.
those vibes, like well, obviously won't be that good, but those vibes, best possible scenario with this team. Quickly as a dancer. Like I think that's going to be a really fun part of this team. It's like there's going to be a lot of kids having fun.
Maybe
And
that's what the Hottie highlight's gonna be. It's just gonna be various dancing videos that I may or may
please
not get.
give it to me.
You know what? It's rare that I disagree with the Hottie highlight of the week, but I disagree. I think it's Scotty, and I think it's him wanting to hang out with D'Angelo Russell, and I'll tell you why. When he says, "Let me know when you're here," there is a spelling error / grammatical error with the word here. He wrote HEAR instead of HERE. Now, we all know phones, it could be a typo, it could be whatever. But I think when you message someone and there's a typo there, it means you didn't have to think about whether or not you want to hang out with this guy. You know what I mean? Like there was zero thought put into it. He just knows he wants to hang out with D'Angelo Russell in Toronto. And I like that energy. I like give me that typo, you want to hang out with me energy.
Fair, but can I just say that it was let me know what you hear.
Oh, so I read it wrong.
You did. It's because
Wow. So they're not even hanging out?
D'Angelo was trying to look. He was like looking for. He tweeted because I saw this.
No, this whole segment's ruined.
He said, "Pick up basketball in Toronto. I'm pulling up." And then Scotty said, "Let me know what you hear." So Scotty was like, "If you guys are playing pickup, I'll play." So it's a good moment.
Oh, but he is saying, "Let me know when you're here." It's just there's two typos.
Let me know what you hear.
But that doesn't make sense in the context of what he's saying.
Yeah, because D'Angelo Russell was like, "Hey, who's playing basketball?" And then Scotty was like, "If you hear something, let me know."
But what would he hear? Hear what?
Where the game's at. So because
but they're gonna hang out. It's implied that they're gonna hang out.
They're gonna hang out, but it's like playing basketball. Like the whole thread is people being like, "Yo, I'm playing at Scarborough. I'm playing at Queens Quay. I'm playing at like."
Yeah, that I get. But to me, there's
like,
still.
"Let me know what you hear. I'll be there. I'll play."
So there's no typo, is what you're saying.
There's no typo, but they're buddies though. So your point stands.
I really thought there was a typo.
I'm not seeing one.
Well,
okay. Can I even push this segment even further by suggesting a third moment that I saw? Do you ever have a guest suggestion? This is what we're too close. You can't have me on. That's what happens.
You don't realize that this is like the WNBA podcast. It's just Freddie yanking my chain a bit.
I know it's turned into that. I think this is it for me here. I think I'm going to be banned. So
no, you're not going to be banned.
Please, in the comments, if you don't want me banned from Cathryn's
I'm so pissed. Anyway, go on.
This is like, okay, this is my most optimistic thing possible. Scotty was on Twitch and someone asked him if he likes, they asked him something about Home Depot. They said Home Depot or Canadian Tire. And he was like, Home Depot, like, I'm not even about that anymore.
Oh, yeah. We've talked about him loving Canadian Tire.
I'm all about Canadian Tire. Okay, you already did this. Okay, see, now I embarrassed myself.
No, you haven't embarrassed yourself.
Scotty being about Canadian Tire, that's good stuff.
Well, he's about Canadian Tire. He's about being here in the summer, which is actually the best time of year to be in Toronto, except for the floods this past week.
Shout out to the floods.
Yeah. Not shout out to people. Shout out to the flood. It's so shout out to the sewage water, you know.
Shout out to the floods. Shout out to I didn't have power till 1 a.m.
Yeah, I also lost power for a long time.
If you lost your business, shout out.
If your business floated away into the Don River next to a car dealership, shout out to you.
Yeah.
No, I hope everyone was actually okay this last week. It was pretty wild.
I hope you had a raft. Bless.
Oh my
Climate change. Let's go.
Well, the segment was ruined by me, but I hope we at least made you laugh here at the end, which is the point. Okay, Freddie, if you got to go to Canadian Tire with Scotty Barnes, what are you looking at? What are you hoping to buy with him? What would you like his intel on?
That's a great question.
Thank you.
I'm asking Scotty, like, listen, what light should I get for like the trees in my yard? Like,
outdoor lighting.
How should I light up those trees?
Oh my god, I
LED,
think
like, how do I position them? What am I doing here?
Like a nightclub?
I don't know. I feel like
I think he would have opinions on this. I think he'd be good at that.
He'd be great. And then
also, that's a great choice.
Little bonus thing. I'd be like, can we get a hot dog outside after? You know what I mean? Because they always got a hot dog stand.
Do you still go to the hot dog stands?
I try to, but sometimes they're cash only, and I'm like, guys, you got to move on. Like,
they're cash only?
Some of them, and I'm like, you got to let me use my debit.
Yeah, that's kind of wild.
I was one of the last people carrying cash, and I don't even carry cash anymore. Help me out.
Yeah, I don't even know what to say about that. I haven't been to a hot dog stand in quite some time, maybe like a decade.
You got to come through.
You can take me to Canadian Tire.
Yeah, I hope they survive the floods. You know what I mean?
Yeah, the next time we make a Value Village run, Freddie helps me take things to Value Village sometimes because he has a car. And, we'll say hi to Esfandier's auntie. And not like she would still work there. And then we can pull up to Canadian Tire. You can take me to a hot dog stand.
What would you get with Scotty?
I don't know. I mean, I like the lighting thing. I mean, I feel like I'm always trying to figure out good lighting. I feel like maybe patio furniture. I don't even have a patio, but I just feel like he would, similar thing. Like he would just deck out a really nice patio, I think.
Definitely.
I don't know how into like tools he is. Like he would know his
He's got taste though. Like
yeah, he's got taste. Like I don't know if he's like out here like analyzing like nuts and bolts and stuff. Like I don't know if he's doing all
but he's
that.
just confident. So you know what I mean? Like it would be good.
Yeah. I always think it's funny that guys just hang out at hardware stores.
Yeah. And they go for long walks.
Maybe that's what I need to do instead of going to a mall. Right? Remember when Scotty was like, guys, like go to the mall to pick up girls? You saw that clip.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Maybe us girls need to go to the fucking Canadian Tire.
Ladies, we're going to Crappy Tie. Bring some cash because we're getting dogs later.
Imagine.
No debit.
I mean, listen, if anyone has ever met the love of their life at a Canadian Tire, please let me know.
What aisle? Like, what's the
Freddie met the love of his life at clown school, so that's not an option for me.
Same thing.
We should wrap it up there. Freddie, thank you so much for joining me this week. It was great to talk NBA ball with you again. Let us know what you're up to, if anything at all, and where we can find you on the internet.
Yeah, I mean, check my if you don't listen to my pod here on Raptors Republic, Confederacy of Dunks, weekly pod. We come out on Tuesdays, record Monday nights. Try to get comedians, try to get all sorts of people, and doing some stand-up. We got a show August 15th is the next show, 831 Ossington. It's going to be a backyard show. It's really, really fun. So come check that out. All good comedy. Follow us there. And everybody enjoy their summer.
Yes, enjoy your summer, everyone. Quick programming note. Not 100% sure if I'm going to do an episode next week. I know I said that before, then I ended up doing an episode. Really just depends on what the news cycle is in the coming week. Like Summer League is basically wrapped up. The Olympics start on the 26th. So I'm not sure if we're going to have a lot of basketball news between now and then, but I'll definitely come back to talk about what's happening with the Olympics. So look out for the show. Thank you again for listening, for tuning in. If you're on YouTube, like, etc. Yeah, and if you're looking for WNBA content, check us out at the Pickup WNBA podcast. Thank you again, everyone, and catch you next time. Bye.